everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So, this is my 600 review that I have ever done. And today is a pretty damn nice day in my opinion. Not very cloudy, kind of sunny today. It's definitely not misty today, which is something that we can kind of have to talk about when it comes to the movie of today. So, today, for my 600 review, we're going to talk about a fantastic movie. We're going to do it accompanied by 2 öl, the mighty double IPA, which is something that I am very fond of. Oh my god, look at this. This is going to be awesome. Ooh, this is exactly what I want when it comes to a great double IPA. Kind of like the movie we're going to take a look at today. There is something about this movie, especially when I watched it in the cinema, that was so amazing that I'm gonna take you with me on this fantastic journey today with a movie that was great and was elevated into absolute insanity with its last 40 seconds. This is my review, my 600 review of The Mist. So in classic Stephen King fashion, we are in Maine, and Thomas Jane has just discovered that there has been a huge storm and that the tree has, come down and, damaged his house a little bit. So he's going away to, buy some supplies. They also stop on the way at the local supermarket to, buy some, sodas or, tomatoes or whatever they're going to do. But while they are inside of the store, there is a big mist that comes rolling in. At first, people are just a little bit, that's a lot of mist. But then they discover that there is something evil in the mist. There are monsters in the mist, and they do not dare to go out. And so they're stuck in there. But what is this? Where does it come from? And how long will the mist actually be, surrounding this place? And slowly but surely, the fabric of society is crumbling inside this store because some people are looking for answers. And who will provide the answers for them? Well, that would be Miss Carmody. She's the, Bible quoting nutcase, a classical trope in many Stephen King stories. And with a less capable actress than what we currently have in this movie, it probably wouldn't have worked at all. But Marcia Gay Harden is such a perfect casting for this movie that she's able to overcome the, stereotypical, character and actually mold it into something quite astonishing, because there's a frailty to her and there is a, tragic to her, and you can also see that sometimes she sort of goes with the flow and sometimes she just, ramp up the lunacy, and she truly believes that what she does is in the interest of the people in this store. And the longer it gets, the scarier she gets. And there is a moment in this movie that will live for me forever, and I will tell you more about it after I'm gonna do the rating for this review as a little bit of a bonus. But she was absolutely fantastic. I believed every twitch, every, weird little expression she made, and every outburst or quivering she did. It was magnificent. Thomas Jane has never been looked upon, as this, classical actor. He's not a De Niro or Pacino or Daniel Day-Lewis or anything like that. But I actually think that he did a very good job portraying this sort of, ordinary guy in this movie. He's normally typecasted as, a tough guy in, action movies or stuff like that. He never gets to play this type of a character, and I thought he did a very, very good job. And also, Toby Jones gets to have a badass moment in this movie. Did you see that one coming? Anyway, so this is a horror movie with, monsters and stuff. And if you're looking for that I think you might be a little bit disappointed in it, because this is a very dialogue-heavy movie, and I really like the dialogue because it feels natural, it doesn't feel forced. But it might be a little bit too much dialogue and a little bit too little, creative monster gore for you. In fact, I don't know if this movie technically is a horror movie or it is a psychological thriller. I thought the psychological thriller bits were more interesting than the, monster aspect of the movie, because the entire idea of this movie is essentially, what is the worst thing? The gigantic spiders or the tentacle monsters on the outside, or is it, the humans on the inside that, are the real monsters? That is a more interesting story than, them hunting for supplies in the place next door and tried, to improve their position. And I will also say this, that when it is 5 minutes left of this movie, it is a very good horror thriller movie. But then comes the absolute finish of the whole thing. Now, compared to the Stephen King novella of which this movie is based, it is something that Frank Darabont simply just, threw into that thing. And Stephen King has said afterwards that, I wish I could have done what he did. It is such a better ending than my ending. Because a movie can make or break in 45 seconds or less. You can take a good movie and have a horrible ending to the whole thing, and the whole thing will just crumble and fall. Or you can do something that will elevate the movie in such a way that it receives immortal status. That is what this movie does. It bumps the rating up a solid 23 points. Because there are moments in history when I have been watching, movies in the cinema. I had no idea what this movie was going to be about. I didn't know that it was based on a Stephen King story. I didn't know that, Frank Darabont was a big thing when it comes to adapting Stephen King stories. He is the best, after all. The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, the guy is no slouch. But I had no expectations for it whatsoever. And then we have the first all-time greatest sequence of all time in the end of the movie. And then we come to the absolute finale of the whole thing. When you see that thing, and when it comes, it is not close to perfection. It is perfection. It is one of the 5 greatest last 5 seconds of a movie that I have ever seen. And you will never, ever forget it. It is so freaking good that every time I see it, I just think that, okay, here it comes. I know it's going to come. I am prepared for it. But then I am still not prepared for it. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It is such a fantastic ending. They could have essentially sitting down and shit in a bucket for 100 minutes and they would have still gotten one of the most visceral reactions ever, considering what those last minutes of this movie and the absolute finale is. It is such a fantastic ending. I cannot emphasize how great that ending is. Watch this movie just to get to that ending, and I will bet you that there is a number of people that will watch that ending and say, I hated that ending, and I would absolutely understand them. But for me, it was absolutely perfect. I just realized that I've probably said absolutely a whole bunch of times now, but I just get so excited when I'm talking about the ending of this movie. It has great acting, it has a great setup, it has a great mystery to itself. It is a good horror movie, but it is an even better psychological thriller. It has a fantastic script, and I love almost every aspect of this movie. Sure, the special effects aren't as good and has aged somewhat, but I am willing to overlook that thing simply because of how strong the performances are, how crisp the dialogue is, and simply put, how very, very, very good the script of the whole thing is. If you've never seen this movie before, I really recommend it. It is a movie that you will never forget. The characters are great, and it has that weird Stephen King magic that is so elusive, but when you get it right, you really get it right. And it is so much simpler to adapt a short story rather than, you know, his brick-size books like It or The Stand or something like that, because there is so much information. And when you have these shorter stories, you're able to craft something that is much more memorable and much more coherent than what you otherwise would have done. The Mist remains as one of my absolute favorite Stephen King's adaptation of all time. I haven't read the novella, so I don't know how much better this one is to the short story, but I would actually believe that it is one of the most improved ones of everything that Stephen King has ever written, ever. Do I wish that they could have explored more about the mystery of what the mist is and where these monsters come from? And could we have spent a little more time with the mythology of this thing? Perhaps and maybe. But these are, you know, very, very minor complaints I have about this movie. Without the movie's last 5 minutes, this movie would have been a 75 ratings. But with those last 5 minutes, it is a solid 98 points, making it easily one of the greatest Stephen King stories I've ever seen to be put on the big screen. This movie is absolutely breathtaking and I love it so much. Okay, bonus round and also spoiler alert. So there are moments in cinema history where sequences or scenes have happened that has made me feel in a certain way. It can, you know, years can go by without a single movie is released with, you know, a sequence happening that gets me in that mood. It's difficult to describe what it is. It makes me feel sick or euphoric or, you know, completely messed up at the same time. It happened twice in this movie. When they shoot Mrs. Carmody in the head, you know, when she is going completely insane, we want the boy, and she goes completely Reverend Jim and drinking the Kool-Aids, and, you know, everything is going completely fucked up. When that happened, I stood up in the cinema and I screamed, yes! And then I realized what I said, sorry! And I sat down. And then a guy slightly to the left of me said, it's okay, I was thinking the same thing. It is one of the most satisfying deaths I have ever seen. The only thing that comes remotely close to that thing is the movie The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, a very, very underrated movie from 1992, where we have this super evil woman played by Rebecca de Monterey, and the mom has, you know, discovered who she is, and she walks up to her and she clocks her in the face. I had a similar reaction, and when I rewatched the movie, you know, a year ago, I discovered that I had the same visceral reaction. I went, ooh yeah, punch that bitch out. It was glorious. The second thing that happens is, of course, the ending that we have to talk about. Now, if you've never seen this movie and you want to see it, stop now, go and watch it, then come back and, you know, start at this point again. Ready? Wasn't that great? So they go off, you know, into the mist in the station wagon, and they hope to, you know, get out of the mist, but apparently it had engulfed the entire planet and they cannot see the end of the whole thing. And, you know, they see these humongously big mastodont-like creatures that, you know, is wandering around the Earth. The Earth is fucked. And then, I don't know if they ran out of gas or if they simply just stopped that this is pointless. Now, they have, if I'm not mistaken, 4 passengers. They have a gun, and Thomas Jane is thinking, I'm going to have to kill everybody because it is better to be killed than being, you know, eaten by the monsters, because, you know, the being eaten by the monsters bit seems to be quite painful and horrible. The thing is that he has 1 bullet too little for the job. So he shoots everybody in the car, including his own son. And he walks out of the door and he, you know, says, come on, kill me. He has just killed innocent people and his own son. And what happens not 20 seconds after he steps out of the car? The tank comes through the mist. The mist slowly clears and we see all these people in hazmat suits that come and, you know, burn everything, and we see, you know, military trucks that goes by in slow motion, including we see the woman that they wouldn't let, you know, in again. She apparently was saved. She was okay all along, and she rides there and she looks upon him with that disgusting "you motherfucker" on her face, while Thomas Jane is screaming silently into the camera. He killed his own son 20 seconds too early. It is almost like it is a cruel joke, and then it all cuts to black, and it is the greatest fucking thing I've ever seen. When that happened, and when I sat there in the movie theater, I almost wet myself because my God, oh my God, it does something to you. It is almost, like I said, it is almost like it is a cruel joke. And is it the greatest ending of all time? I'm actually going to have to make some kind of a list trying to figure out if this is the greatest ending of all time or not, but it is certainly a contender to it. If it just would have had, you know, them driving away into the mist, then it wouldn't have been nearly as good. If they would have had, you know, him killing everybody and then being eaten, and then 20 seconds later, the same thing happens, that wouldn't have been nearly as good. But the fact is that he has to live with what he just have done. And do you think you could live with yourself after having done that? I think not. It is such a fan-freaking-tastic ending, and if you've never seen it and you see it for the first time, you know what I'm talking about. That feeling. It is magnificent. So I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.